Welcome back to New Day. Melania Trump's controversial speech, controversial not in its delivery, controversial not in its impact, but in its origination, coming in part from Michelle Obama's 2008 convention speech. That conversation is still ongoing because the campaign is still denying what I just told you. So we're learning new details about how this situation evolved to this point. Let's discuss with CNN political director David Chalian and CNN political analyst, presidential campaign correspondent of the New York Times, Maggie Haberman, and CNN political analyst and host of the David Gregory podcast, David Gregory. Maggie Haberman, as is often the case, you have advanced understanding on an issue that is at play in this campaign. What do we now know about how we got to this point of what happened with the Melania speech?
So we know that professional speechwriters have been on contract with the campaign, Matt Scully and his partner John McConnell, and they did a draft.
George W. Bush's era.
Exactly, and they have written for many campaigns. They wrote for, they were involved in his September 11th, 2001 address to the nation. They did a version of a speech that they delivered in June. And then got early feedback from Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of Donald Trump, saying this looks good. They then didn't hear anything, and they waited and waited, and they finally had some contact with the campaign about 10 or 11 days ago, and were told that it was being trimmed. But now, as it shows up, it was almost unrecognizable, apparently, as what that original draft was. Melania Trump, for whatever reason, didn't like that draft. She consulted with some people. One of them was a woman named Meredith MacGyver, who works for the Trump Organization, has been involved in Trump's books. It's not clear how involved she was in any final product. It's still not precisely clear how the similar lines that were in Michelle Obama's speech and Melania Trump's speech ended up there, but it is clear that there was an earlier version that she was not enamored of, and she did take control of the process in some way.
So, David Chalian, if this were just Melania Trump doing this, and she's the one who added the words and maybe was influenced by Michelle Obama, then case closed. There's nobody to be fired, right? Then it's just, that's it.
You can't fire the spouse. That is a rule in politics.
But she can fire you.
But yeah. But listen, I do think that is the question, Allison. If we are, and I don't know that we'll ever be able to figure this out, if indeed Melania was the one that watched videos and was inspired by something, or thought she saw and asked for that to be in, or penciled that in herself, or if after the initial draft was deemed no good, whoever was helping put together something that would be more acceptable to Melania found that and put that in. I don't know that we'll ever know that difference. What we do know is how the campaign dealt with this, and I think that's sort of the most informative thing out of this, which is they just want to steamroll through it. It's like with the John Barron, John Miller, the pseudonyms that Donald Trump used as his own spokesperson, and we hear the audio tape, and it's clearly Donald Trump, and they said, no, that's not me, just keep moving on. And that is their posture on things like this, is that their voters won't care that much, and so they're going to keep pushing through our obsession with it until we move on to the next thing.
So what is the risk, David Gregory, other than making us upset, which clearly not only does the Trump campaign not care about, but think works in their favor?
There is no penalty for making us upset, not in this country or in any other country. But there is a risk if you spend now, 2 full nights talking about Hillary Clinton lying and that she should go to prison when you lie in the face of anything that contradicts your worldview. So here's evidence that says you cribbed from Michelle Obama in 2008. No, that's not true. That's not what we did. Well, that's not the truth. And if that's the pattern, well, you may fun of a New York Times reporter because he has a disability. No, we didn't do that. So if there's a pattern of lies, how does that cut against the case that you're making against Hillary Clinton? But this is also just sloppiness and incompetence. And if you're making a case to voters beyond the floor, think about the suburbs of Philadelphia, those white-collar Republicans. You be Republicans. Donald Trump needs those folks. The party's been losing them to Democrats. They want to see somebody who's in charge and knows how to run things and who's competent. This just undermines all of that, and there's no reason for it.
Maggie, don't believe your own lioness is a big theme with them. And they've told us that, as David cited lots of different times. That is what they've done. But up until now, I mean, we keep being told now is when voters start paying attention. At the convention, all the other voters, not the diehards, everybody else starts paying attention. Do we have any sense that regular voters care about these mishaps?
People are definitely reading about it and talking about it. It is way too soon to know what, if any, impact this is going to have. I don't think it helps certainly, you know, the opening night, this convention is all about, as you say, appealing to people who are not already, you know, on the Trump train. And so it's an unfortunate, you know, overshadowing, especially for a speech that was very well received that night and was really on a night that was pretty gloom and doom in all of the other speeches that preceded it. She gave a pretty uplifting delivery and a pretty compelling message about her husband. I do think that this will largely be washed away by focus on Donald Trump's speech, because that is ultimately what is going to matter tomorrow night, as well as how Mike Pence does tonight. And I think that Trump's kids, Tiffany and Don Jr., gave pretty compelling testimonials about their father last night. I do think that is going to help wash away some of this.
Now, inside baseball, but you know, the CNN audience likes inside baseball. You know where it doesn't get washed away is with Melania Trump. She didn't want to do this. This is why she didn't want to do this. She's not going to forget this, and she's right not to. How that plays out, we'll see. David Chalian, you are the man who knows. On the floor last night, we saw proof positive to why this isn't going to matter. Big delegation. Part of the state, not for Trump. Part of the delegation, not for Trump. I say to the head of the delegation, what are you going to do? He said, easy, one phrase, she's worse. Did they lie? Yes. Does it matter? No, because Hillary lies about things that matter bigger and more. That's their case. Is it enough?
It is definitely the unifying factor. That is what brings a fractured Republican Party right now together like nothing else. So when you hear chants 2 nights in a row on the floor, lock her up, and that is the rallying cry of the first 2 nights of the convention, you can just hear that's one thing that brings everyone in that room together. And I think that when you have as high negatives as you have with both of these candidates, these are the 2 most unpopular candidates in modern presidential history. This hammering away at those negatives is going to be from now through November, because that's their vulnerability on each side.
But remember, he's got to unite the party beyond the red meat of Clinton haters. He's got over 60% of voters who don't think he's qualified to do the job. He has got to present himself and an agenda that voters can rally around. And that's his big test.
Panel, thank you very much. Maggie, thank you for your reporting. David, happy birthday.
Oh, thanks, Allison.
Yeah.
Every day's his birthday when it's a political calendar year. Let me tell you that right now. So there is a man who believes this was not plagiarism, that it does not matter, and that Donald Trump is growing the tent despite anything else you hear. His name is Paul Manafort, and he is running the Trump campaign. He's going to join us on New Day next. I'm here. Moments ago, Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort was on New Day again, and once again says there was no plagiarism present in Melania Trump's speech. He also said a lot more. Let's discuss. We'll bring in a good panel for this. We have Jennifer Granholm, the former governor of Michigan and senior advisor to correct the record. She obviously supports Hillary Clinton. CNN political commentator Corey Lewandowski, you know him, former Trump campaign manager, still receiving severance from the Trump campaign, and he is the chair of the New Hampshire delegation here at the Republican Convention. We also have our brother, CNN political analyst David Gregory, host of the David Gregory podcast. Corey Lewandowski, okay? You have come at me plenty in the course of this campaign. Tell me what we are doing wrong in this situation and why it's okay for the Trump campaign to deny what is obvious to my 10-year-old.
Look, I think what the Trump campaign wants to talk about is the success of this convention. The fact that Donald Trump today is no longer the presumptive Republican nominee. He is the Republican nominee.
Beautiful.
That is the
spin
message.
is great, and that's the truth. However, you keep saying that this isn't plagiarized. Nobody thought it was a big deal. Nobody. I think I even got scolded for saying it wasn't a big enough deal when it first started. But he won't admit it. The campaign won't admit it. That keeps it going. Why is that not understood?
Look, I think really what I think this comes down to is making sure that the people who saw Melania Trump understand that her words were her words, and she wrote the broad strokes of this speech, and she delivered them so eloquently and so gracefully. and it was a great opportunity for her to be introduced to the American people. And what I have said is that the people who finalized and put those minor details into the speech should be held accountable. That's not Melania Trump.
Right.
And all I think we need to understand now is that the speech is done. It's time to move on from that and talk about Donald Trump as the Republican nominee for President of the United States.
Not so fast. Paul Manafort was just on New Day moments ago, and he has a different take, I think, than you do, which is basically it didn't happen. So listen to his interview with Chris.
The truth is the words, the truth is the feelings that were expressed by Melania Trump that night, which you don't want to focus on. It was the message that she was communicating. That's the truth. That
of
message
course I want to focus on it. We say she
heart.
gave a good speech. We say it was compelling.
Well, then move on.
The words
then move
were
on.
the same that Michelle Obama. But I can't move on because you keep lying about it, so I can't move on from it because I have
Chris,
to talk
about
what is true. Did
I'm
the
not lying about
language,
anything,
did a
Chris.
portion of the language of that speech come from Michelle Obama's speech, yes or no?
As far as we're concerned, there are similar words that were used. We've said that, but the feelings of those words and the commonality of those words do not create a situation which we feel we have to agree with you. You want to have that opinion, fine. You want to talk about it for the next 6 months, I'm not going to be here
opinion,
because I've got
that's the
other things
problem.
I got to talk about. Okay, well,
No, hey, listen, Paul, I'm not here to beat you over the head.
Okay. I don't know where to begin, Governor. The similarity of those words and the commonality of those words may have been there, but that's your opinion.
Yeah, it's an
Sounds
insult.
like is,
Yeah,
not to rub any salt in
exactly.
the old Clinton wounds, but it does.
It's an insult to people everyday people who are watching us, who see these two side by side. I mean, Corey, I appreciate what you were saying, because what you said basically was, yeah, somebody has to take responsibility for this. Somebody has to stand up. So there's an admission there, which we all see. Chris, your point, I think, is really valid because it is a proxy for the whole campaign when they deny this, when they essentially lie about what happened. And the proxy, again, which is evident last night in all these speeches where there were all of these misstatements, lies, whatever, as confirmed by fact checkers, et cetera, that kind of thread does not work for them when they're trying to prosecute a case like that against Hillary Clinton.
And look, and this is the part of the conversation then you don't like, Governor, because David, that is their case, and it's an effective case. Did Hillary Clinton commit a felony with the email? No. But did she lie? Yes. There are lies, demonstrable lies, authorization, where it was, how many devices. So that's their case. It's a good case. But isn't it hurt when they're playing the same game? And I keep pointing at you because you're still getting severance, and as long as you are, I'm going to keep pointing. So, is there some there in what I'm saying?
Bottom line is that Paul Manafort, who is a proxy for Donald Trump, is not leveling with you, has not leveled with you in 2 interviews on 2 successive mornings, and they're not leveling with the American people. And Donald Trump's big calling card at this convention is he tells the truth, he tells it like it is, he's not politically correct, and Hillary Clinton lies. Well, the Trump campaign does not level with the American people. On small matters that have come up, whether he's made fun of people, whether there's plagiarism. Plagiarism is a big deal if you're a journalist or if you're a college student, by the way, and you use words that are not your own. It may not have a huge political impact, but leveling with the American people is important, and they're not doing it here. And they refuse to answer the question. You spent time with Manafort where he just didn't answer the question. He wants to focus on what he wants to focus on. Corey's making the same points because he's got a point of view about all of this. That's all fine. Bottom line is Donald Trump leveling with the American people? That's the test. And the people who are watching this convention, who are making a decision about whether Donald Trump is qualified to be president, he has the temperament to be president, and how he's going to handle these kinds of situations if he's commander-in-chief of the United States military and president of the United States. You make judgments based on these moments.
Corey, explain how this works inside the campaign. When something comes up that's uncomfortable, it seems as though the campaign deny. It seems like that's the MO in the campaign. Why not just acknowledge it? Why didn't they do that from the get-go?
Look, I think what you have is you've got, Melania Trump, who came up with the thoughts of what she wanted to convey to the American people. And then she had a small team different writers who probably assembled some different words and brought them forth to her. And she read those and she felt comfortable with them, is my opinion. And then what happened was, and look, this is what Reince Priebus said. He said it yesterday. Someone should be fired, is what Reince Priebus said. The chairman of the GOP, who's been as staunch and staunch advocate for Donald Trump, came out and made that claim first yesterday morning.
Right, so then why does the campaign always deny? What's going on inside the
It's not a matter of
campaign
denying,
that
but what this is about now is moving forward, okay? This is not going to make a difference. This is not going to change what people are going to vote for. And look, I think Melania Trump is going to make an amazing first lady. She's going to do an amazing job. And for the narrative to perpetuate, I think is unfortunate to her because this is not her responsibility.
Sure, we've moved on to why the campaign denied it.
Exactly.
Instead of just coming forward and saying, whoopsie daisy, okay, we'll change.
Part of what's happening.
And good morning. We're live from the Republican National Convention in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm Carol Costello. Thank you so much for joining me. Donald Trump's kids deliver on night 2, showcasing their dad as a blue-collar billionaire with a soft side. This after Trump's locked in his party's official nomination. Also in the spotlight, Hillary Clinton. Republicans taking every opportunity to skewer the presumptive Democratic nominee. In case you don't understand what they're chanting lock her up, lock her up. We are covering all of this with our team of political experts and reporters, but let's begin with CNN's Phil Mattingly. Hi, Phil.
Morning, Carol. Well, throughout the rather tumultuous first 24 hours of the Republican National Convention, advisors and Trump supporters would say the same thing. Just wait until you hear from Donald Trump's kids. Well, that happened last night, and they delivered.
It is my honor to be able to throw Donald Trump over the top in the delegate count tonight. Congratulations, Dad. We love you.
Donald Trump formally clinching the Republican nomination.
I'm so proud to be your nominee for President of the United States.
Trump's children stealing the spotlight with emotional speeches about their father.
Donald Trump has never done anything halfway, least of all as a parent.
His 22-year-old daughter, Tiffany, getting personal.
I still keep all of my report cards, some dating back to kindergarten, because I like to look back and see the sweet notes he wrote on each and every one of them. Contrary to what you might expect from someone who places an emphasis on results.
Eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., calling his father his mentor and best friend, casting him as the blue-collar billionaire.
I was there with him, by his side, on job sites, in conference rooms, from the time I could walk. He didn't hide out behind some desk in an executive suite. He spent his career with regular Americans. He hung out with the guys on construction sites, pouring concrete and hanging sheetrock.
Trump's children from different marriages delivering powerful testimonials of their dad.
For my father, impossible is just the starting point.